In this video, I'm breaking down the Bitcoin chart and revealing exactly where I believe Bitcoin is heading, both in the short term and in the long term. I'll show you why I'm personally projecting Bitcoin to hit over 150,000 this year and why this could be your last chance to get rich in crypto. And make sure to stay to the end because I'm going to reveal some of my favorite altcoins to buy right now. When we take a look at the price chart for Bitcoin, we can see that ever since the bottom back in December of 2022, Bitcoin's actually been following this trend line right here. And every single time we've actually come down to this trend line, Bitcoin has actually got a very significant bounce off of this level. And this can also be shown by our momentum waves. We can see here that we are currently printing a green dot on the momentum waves. And every single time we've actually printed a green dot, it's actually led to a significant move. So the last green dot we actually printed on the chart was back here, and it actually led to a rally of about 125%. And if we were to look at the time before that, which was back here in October of 2023, it also led us to a rally of about 200% for Bitcoin. So these green dots are very significant. But what I'm really looking for Bitcoin is this is our bullish trend where we've been making higher highs and higher lows, and we've been in bullish market structure. And I'm expecting for us to get one final push up for Bitcoin and the rest of the altcoins, potentially putting us upwards of 150k. But I do believe that once we actually break and fall below this trend line, that this is actually going to be the start of our bear market. So this trend line is going to be the key level to watch, because at that moment when we can no longer hold this trend and we no longer get a bounce and we actually go below, that is the time where I would be looking to sell all of my crypto and completely exit the market. But where do I think we're going in the short term? Well, when we actually zoom in on the price of Bitcoin, we can actually see that from our recent highs back in March of 2024, we actually came down and retested that level exactly, flipping our previous highs into a level of support. And that's actually extremely bullish for the chart, because what it's done is it's actually done a key support and resistance flip. But it was also due to happen because when we got this massive pump up, we actually created what's called an imbalance on the chart. We had this zone here where not a lot of volume was traded, and quite often price likes to come down to fill that gap and to flip the previous highs into support before we can put in that next leg higher. Now, you're probably wondering, do I think we're going straight up from here? Well, when we zoom in, we can actually see that we're coming up to some very key levels of resistance. So this level right here, this was a very key level, because it was actually the level that we fell from when we got this big dump to the downside, and we're now coming up to retest that level. And when we take a look at the momentum waves on Market Cipher B, we can see that we are printing a red dot on that momentum wave, and it is looking like it is going to come down to the downside. So I am actually expecting a bit of a correction in the short term, especially since we got such a big rally up of about almost 30%. So what I would be looking for is for Bitcoin to actually come down and test a key level. And what level would I be looking at? Well, the first level is going to be around $86,000. What I would be looking for is for Bitcoin to potentially come down here before then putting its next leg up. So that way it actually gives this momentum wave time to reset so that it can go back to the upside and gain that momentum. Now, is it guaranteed to bounce off that level? Well, no. And we can actually pull our volume range profile to give us some hints as to where it might go. Now, what we can see as well is this key level here that I've drawn, my blue box, it actually lines up perfectly with the point of control that we've been trading in. The point of control is the area where the most volume has been traded, and this quite often is significant resistance. So it's very probable that we may see that correction to the downside. And it also gives us our value area low at around $84,000. So what you can actually do here is you can actually draw a box right here in between that level of support and our value area low. And this is actually the level where I would potentially be looking for Bitcoin to come down to and get a bounce before we do put in that next leg higher. And that zone is between 84,000 and about 86,500. As well, when we also pull our Fibonacci, we can actually see that we've come up and tapped the Fibonacci golden pocket exactly. Now, the Fibonacci golden pocket is typically going to be the hardest level of resistance to get above. So this actually gives us confidence, which with all of these other indicators, that we are likely going to get that move down in the short term. And this is going to be the zone that I'm going to be targeting for Bitcoin to get that bounce. But I do believe once we get that move down, that will actually give us the momentum to be able to get above that key level. And when we can actually flip that blue box into support, we're now trading within a new sideways zone, because Bitcoin likes to trade within sideways ranges, and this was our previous sideways range here, where Bitcoin would bounce from the highs to the lows. And when we broke down from that range, excuse my messy drawing, we actually entered into a new value zone here, which is essentially what we've been doing, just bouncing in between this range. And it's when we can get back above that level into this range here is when I believe that we're going to be more likely able to get that move back up to the all-time highs. But that's essentially what I'm looking at for Bitcoin. But you probably want to know, what am I thinking for the altcoins? Well, we're going to take a look at the Bitcoin dominance chart to give us some insight. Now, for those of you that may not be familiar with the Bitcoin dominance chart, it represents the percentage of the total market cap that Bitcoin has taken up. So when the Bitcoin dominance is rising, Bitcoin's outperforming your altcoins. And when the Bitcoin dominance chart is going down, this is typically when your altcoins are outperforming Bitcoin. And it's when we get these big moves to the downside, which is when altcoins are absolutely exploding in price, and we see the true alt season that everyone's been talking about. Now, the question is, Bitcoin dominance has pretty much been rising in this uptrend, and the question is, where do I think the top is going to be? Because we did see a little bit of a fake out back here, but all we did when we got that fake out is we actually just went straight back above our trend line, and we're still holding that level of ascending support. But I think Bitcoin still has a little bit to go, because when we put our Fibonacci from our high to our swing low, we can see that we actually broke above the Fibonacci golden pocket, which gives us our next key level at the 0.786, which puts Bitcoin dominance at around 66%. Now, we know that Bitcoin always likes to run first, and that's exactly what I'm expecting. I think that when Bitcoin puts in its next leg higher, that we're going to see that final push up to that 66% level, and then I'm expecting the Bitcoin dominance to reverse at this key level and for our altcoins to massively outperform. And this is when I would be expecting for us to break that trend and go into that true alt season that we've all been waiting on. Now, guys, you're probably wondering what coins I'm looking to accumulate right now. Well, I can tell you straight away, with the Bitcoin dominance so high, Bitcoin just isn't going to get you the returns that you want. From here, you might get a 2x out of Bitcoin at the most, but that's not really going to give you the life-changing money you want. But one coin that I'm actually looking at, and I've been accumulating heavy, is actually BitTensor Tower. So BitTensor Tower is actually the leading AI coin. And one of the things I like about this coin is it's actually known as the Bitcoin of AI, because it has a max supply of 21 million, just like Bitcoin, and a halving cycle as well that matches very similar to Bitcoin. Now, for me, my buy zone for BitTensor Tower is between this zone here. This is my buy zone. Anything in that zone, I'm comfortable accumulating. But as soon as we get out of this range, I'm going to put my foot on the brakes and stop my DCA. Now, we've actually come up to a very key level of resistance, being my blue box here. And I do think that we are going to see a bit of a pullback in the short term. And the reason I say that is when we zoom out and we go to the daily chart, we can see that we are actually topping here on our momentum waves, having just printed a red dot, meaning it's very likely that we are gonna get a move to the downside. And when you see these large red dots on the daily, when we come to key levels of resistance, being my blue box here, it makes it extremely likely that we are gonna get a big move down, because the last 2 times we actually came up to that blue box here, it actually resulted in a correction all the way back down to the bottom blue box down here. So if we were to measure that out from where we are right now, that's about a 45% correction that we have. Now, are we guaranteed to come all the way down? Well, I actually think it's more likely that the level we would come down to would actually be this level here, the midway point. And that's what I would be waiting for this coin, is for us to get a correction to that midway point to then buy in that zone and then get a bounce up, where I then think we can break above that blue box and go back up towards our all-time highs. But that's pretty much all I've got for today's video. If you liked that video, make sure to like and subscribe. And if you'd like some one-on-one coaching with me to learn how to trade or invest, just message me on either Instagram or Twitter, or send me an email. And to purchase my top 10 picks for 2025, the low cap altcoins that I believe are going to get you the best returns this bull run, you can just click on the link below. But besides that, I'll see you guys next time.
Bitcoin, please go to moon. Stop going sideways now. Don't ever say we going down to 1K, but Mr. Novogratz say we have bottomed out. Novogratz is bullish. Bottomed out. Don't ever rise is bearish.
Bearish falls to 13 puncher.
Novogratz is bullish.
Bitcoin could be at 40,000.
Let us go to moon.